Hello and welcome to ESET. Today we are going to showcase ESET's two-factor authentication solution, ESET Secure Authentication, also known as ESA. Multi-factor authentication, MFA, also known as two-factor authentication, 2FA, is an authentication method which requires two independent pieces of information to verify a user's identity. ESA provides an easy way for businesses of all sizes to implement MFA across commonly utilized systems such as VPNs, Remote Desktop Protocol, Office 365, Outlook Web Access, Operating System Login, and more. First, a quick word about ESET. We are a security software vendor with 30 plus years of cybersecurity expertise. ESET is trusted by more than 400,000 businesses worldwide. ESET is time-tested and proven multi-layer technology. And ESET offers a full security portfolio for businesses of any size, may it be small, medium, or large enterprises. ESET offers a wide portfolio of security tools to reduce exposure and secure our customers' environments. In this diagram, you can see how ESET solutions map to Gartner's adaptive security architecture. In the prevent and detect quadrants, ESET provides proactive prevention via our advanced layered scanning approach for solid anti-malware and endpoint security. We also offer our EDR solution, ESET Enterprise Inspector, our MFA solution, ESET Secure Authentication, and our encryption solutions, ESET Endpoint Encryption and ESET Full Disk Encryption. The Respond quadrant is where our enterprise product solutions provide value. This again is ESET Enterprise Inspector, but also our cloud-based sandbox, ESET Dynamic Threat Defense. And lastly, in the Predict quadrant, ESET offers its Virus Radar website and We Live Security blog, as well as our ESET Threat Intelligence, which provides real-time feeds, custom reporting, and early warning security information to strengthen your defenses. Okay, let's talk about multi-factor authentication and ESET's secure authentication solution. Multi-factor authentication, also known as two-factor authentication, is an authentication method which requires two independent pieces of information to verify a user's identity. MFA is much stronger than using a traditional static password or PIN authentication. By complementing the traditional authentication method with a dynamic second factor, 2FA effectively reduces the risk of data breaches caused by weak or leaked passwords. ESA is ESET's 2FA solution and is a simple yet effective way for businesses of all sizes to implement enterprise-class two-factor authentication for data protection and compliancy across their commonly utilized systems. ESA is easily managed from one place via its web-based console, and it integrates with Active Directory for easy management. ESA also works standalone for organizations without a Windows domain. ESA has minimal setup requirements and allows customers the ability to leverage email, their smartphones, or hard tokens as the second factor. ESA's easy to set up and easy to use approach enables organizations to quickly increase their security posture, prevent data breaches, and meet compliance requirements by adding an additional line of defense to prevent unauthorized access attempts to your internal resources as well as internet-facing connections. ESA is Active Directory integrated for easy management, but also works in a standalone mode, negating the need for a Windows domain. ESA has no dedicated hardware requirements. Simply install ESA on an existing server, then leverage existing smartphones as the token. With existing smartphones, ESA offers one-tap push notifications, allowing your users to authenticate with a single tap and not requiring them to re-enter the second factor. ESA works with Android, iOS, and Windows 10 phones. ESET Secure Authentication supports multiple second-factor methods for your end-user community, such as mobile phone applications, push notifications, OAuth-compliant hardware tokens, email, SMS, FIDO2 security keys, as well as custom methods. And lastly, ESET Secure Authentication uses its own streamlined management console accessible via any standard web browser. With ESET's latest secure authentication release, ESA v3.0 provides two-factor protection for a wide range of platforms out of the box, including protection for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS desktop logins, as well as user account control privilege elevation for an additional layer of protection to your organization's endpoints and server resources. ESA provides RDP protection both locally and over the public internet, preventing common attack vectors such as RDP brute force attacks. ESA also supports other important systems like SharePoint, Outlook Web Access, Exchange Admin Center, and VMware Horizon. In addition to protecting on-premise applications, ESA also supports web and cloud services such as Office 365, Google Apps, Dropbox, and many others via ADFS 3.0 or SAML2 authentication protocol integration. ESA supports virtual private networks, VPNs, and radius-based services. ESA supports Barracuda, Cisco ASAs, Citrix Access Gateways, Citrix Nextscaler, Checkpoint software, CyberOhm, F5 FirePass, Fortinet FortiGate, Juniper, Palo Alto, and SonicWall to name a few. And now let's have a closer look at ESET's secure authentication solution and how it adds two-factor protection to your commonly used systems. First, we will demonstrate a local Windows login protected by 2FA for admin accounts. Once I enter my password for my domain administrator account, I will be shown a notification box that contains an ID for this 2FA attempt. Moving over to the mobile device, you can leverage biometrics the device supports to ensure only authorized access to the mobile application. I am now presented with the push notification from the login attempt with an action button as well as the ID from the attempt. Once accept is pressed, the login completes as usual. We will now demonstrate protecting remote desktop connections. Here, we are connecting from one server to an Exchange server as an admin. Once I have entered the connection string and my credentials, I am then prompted for the second factor, just like before when we were doing a local Windows login. As we see here, we have the ID again for this current 2FA attempt, and as soon as the accept button is pressed, the login completes as usual. We will now demonstrate protecting Outlook web access. The user who has 2FA enabled will log in normally, just like a user who is not leveraging 2FA. The difference comes once their initial credentials are accepted, they are presented with a 2FA screen with the current ID for the login attempt. Once accept is pressed, the login completes as usual and the user is taken directly to their inbox. We will now demonstrate protecting the Exchange admin control panel. Here we enter admin credentials of a user who is leveraging 2FA. Once their initial credentials are accepted, they are shown the 2FA page with the ID for the current login attempt. Once accept is pressed, the login completes as usual and the user is taken to the Exchange Admin Center. We will now demonstrate protecting the user access to SharePoint. When the user who is protected by 2FA completes the login to the SharePoint site, they are shown the 2FA page with the ID for the current login attempt. Once accept is pressed, the login completes as usual and the user is taken to the SharePoint site. We will now demonstrate accessing the ESET Secure Authentication Management Console. You can access the ESET Secure Authentication Console with either a local ESA admin user account or more preferably a domain admin account which has 2FA enabled on it. By leveraging a domain administrator account with 2FA, you are ensuring to prevent unauthorized access to the ESET Secure Authentication Management Console. As with prior examples, you are shown the 2FA page with the ID for the current attempt. Once accept is pressed, the login completes as usual and you are taken to the ESET Secure Authentication Management Console. We will now demonstrate enrolling a new 2FA user in the ESET Secure Authentication Management Console. We can see here our current admin account which has 2FA enabled and what types of authentication are allowed with that admin account. We can now select our account we wish to enable 2FA for, enter the phone details so we can send an SMS to provision the user, select what methods do we want this user to be allowed to use to authenticate, and then finally press the Save button. Now we can click the blue Send button to send the SMS to start the user provisioning. The user has received an SMS with their unique enrollment link, but we can also show a QR code so we can enroll it for them. We can see the user is pending setup completion, but here we can see another user which is completely enrolled. We will now demonstrate self-enrollment of a new 2FA user. First, we want to ensure the settings are correct. We need to enable self-enrollment and select the default authentication types for the users. Now, we will head back and select the user we wish to enable two-factor authentication for. We will then turn on their authentication method and save. Now, after the user attempts to log in, they will be prompted to set up their 2FA access. By selecting the Setup button, they are beginning the workflow of enabling 2FA. This user is shown a QR code as we have enabled only the push authentication for them. The user will scan the code inside the ESET Secure Authentication app and then press Continue. Once they have pressed the Continue button, they will be shown an ID to ensure the enrollment has completed successfully. Now the user will have to log in again, and we will be shown the same exact things as we've seen with the Windows login protection. We will now demonstrate invitations for off-network or non-AD environments. First, you will need to create the invitation by giving it a name, expiration time, and total number of uses. Next, the information will be shown to you. Make sure to save this data by copying it to the clipboard and saving it to another file. Now, we are going to see an off-network, non-domain connection for 2FA. First, we have the license agreement. We will then select standalone as this is non-AD integrated, and the software will do a dependency check to ensure all requirements are satisfied. Once the dependency check is completed, we can then select what components to install and protect with 2FA. We are now prompted to insert the data that was copied to the clipboard post-invitation creation. Once the software has verified connectivity to the ESA server, we want to ensure to check the box to add the certificate to the local machine store and then click Next. Since we selected Windows Login Protection, we will need to reboot the machine post-installation. Once the installation is completed, we can reboot the machine, and then we are now protected by two-factor authentication. We can now go back to the console and take a look at the Windows login components, and we can see that machine is considered off-network and non-AD integrated because it is external access and by invitation. We will now attempt to log in the machine with an account that is protected by two-factor, and we will see the same approval workflow as we've seen prior with RDP protection and Windows login protection, despite the machine being off-network and not part of Active Directory.